Hello everyone, and welcome to another, not a review this time, but another episode of What's Up Doc. For those of you who aren't familiar, What's Up Doc is the series that I started that attempts to go ahead and dive into one particular aspect of fragrances or colognes that I feel may need a little bit more explaining, or that I feel people would really benefit from by diving fully into. This particular aspect has been researched for me sincerely for about, I want to say 1 to 2 years about that. I've really started just compiling information, talking to dermatologists, talking to olfactory majors, talking to the heads of perfume houses. By the way, thank you Frankenator for hooking those reviews up and getting me access to those heads and parfumers. So this has been a long time in the making. Now the goal of this video is to get you as the viewer to go through and come away with an understanding of how fragrances interact with your skin, how fragrances affect your skin, how they affect with your body, how they affect with your clothes, all aspects of it, and basically allow you to go through and make an informed decision of how you want to apply your fragrances. You look around YouTube and do searches online, and what you're going to see is many people having very, very different methods or ways that they will go ahead and apply fragrances to their body, right? So this is in no way or by any means a definitive guide or anything like that. It's just an information dump that will give you the power to make your own decisions, all right? So with that, let's go ahead and get started and tackle the very first aspect of it, and that's prepping your skin, right? Now, fragrances in general are meant to be sprayed on your skin. They're meant to interact with your skin. There's an entire body that goes and really tests the materials that fragrance houses use to create their cologne. They make sure that it's safe to work on your skin. I will touch upon other places to apply it later, but for now, let's just talk about prepping your skin, and that's make sure that your skin is clean. Make sure that it's a blank slate, right? What that basically means is, obviously, one, take a shower, right? You want your skin to be clean, but while you're taking a shower is usually a place where a couple people may run into some mishaps. And the first thing is try and steer clear of those heavily scented body washes. I'm talking about things like Axe that are specifically made to come across with a scent so that that scent carries with you after your shower and after you put on your clothes, and kind of has that, I'm sure that a lot of people have seen those commercials, and that's kind of what they're driving at. So it's a little bit more powerful of a scent than others. Now, when I say steer away from them, I usually go for a body wash or shampoo that is fragrance-free, lanolin-free, or dye-free, stuff like that. An example is this Dove this Dove body wash that I kind of use right now. If you look up there, you'll see unscented right there. Yeah, unscented. It's simple standard body wash. Has some moisturizer, whatever. This is the one that I used before. I ran out. I can't really find it anywhere. It's unscented, dye-free body wash up there. And for a shampoo, I just use Head and Shoulders. Now, this doesn't say dye-free or anything like that, but it doesn't really leave any scent afterwards. After you get out of the shower, 2-3 minutes later, you're not going to smell anything. So the bottom line is, after I'm done taking a shower, I don't smell like anything. I'm clean, my skin is receptive, and I don't smell like anything. Now, the next step, after you've prepped yourself in that way, is to make sure that your skin is moist. Now, this is actually decently important for fragrances, especially when you're concerning longevity. Dry skin isn't really that receptive towards receiving fragrances and keeping them there. Skin that's moist, on the other hand, is. Moist skin tends to keep the oils and the alcohol that's in fragrances a lot better than dry skin does. So people with naturally moist skin tend to spray a fragrance, and it naturally lasts a lot longer than somebody with dry skin. So to get everyone on the same playing field, you want to use lotion or oil or whatever you can to kind of prep your skin in that way. So kind of going off of that, I used to use baby oil a lot. Baby oil is seen here. It's just standard Johnson & Johnson's baby oil. But the problem with this is it leaves a scent. It gets your skin and preps your skin and makes it really receptive, and this actually really holds fragrance a lot better. But it has a scent, and the scent does carry for a bit. So my concern was that it was interfering with the actual fragrances that I was spraying. So I kind of ditched this in favor of this right here, and that's Lubriderm Daily Moisturizer. It's 100% fragrance dye-free and lanolin-free that you see there. Whoops, sorry. Whatever. But yeah, this is the type of lotion that I actually use now. I am one that always has to apply lotion. I know some of you don't, but if I don't, my skin gets ashy, so I have to apply for lotion anyway. So you want to make sure your skin is clean. You want to make sure that it's receptive and is moisturized in an adequate manner so that it carries the fragrance and the fragrance doesn't interfere with anything else that you're wearing. So, whoops, sorry. With that out of the way, just want to talk on the next part, and that's spraying your clothes. Now, this has come up quite frequently in the fragrance community, and I was actually one of those staunchly against spraying your clothes. However, after speaking with many people and going through speaking with dermatologists, speaking with parfumers, there is actually a place for applying fragrances on your clothes. So in that aspect, I was wrong, got to admit it. But there are some things that you do have to know when you're spraying your clothes. All right. Now, the very first thing when applying fragrances to your clothes is to realize the positives. And the positives are that when you spray your clothes, it lasts longer. Clothes will hold, I mean, depending on the material, it will hold your fragrances, the fragrance for a long time, a much longer time than your skin will. For some of the fragrances that I own, I can spray my clothes, and never mind the day that we're talking about. We're talking about this will last on these clothes for 3 weeks. So it's not something that easily goes away. It's something that will definitely stay there for a much longer time than your skin, right? And that's natural. That's what should happen when you spray it on there. And the other thing is, when you spray your clothes, top notes of a particular fragrance will last a lot longer. For those of you who don't know, there are top, mid, and base notes. And top notes are usually something that you smell right off the bat. Well, what you smell right off the bat is really going to stick around a lot longer than it would if you spray your skin with it. So it has those two very distinct advantages. But it also comes with some disadvantages. One of the major disadvantages to spraying your clothes is that a fragrance often cannot develop as it should, or it would develop if you sprayed your skin. So you won't get that change as much as you would when you applied it to your skin. So that's one very, very important thing to keep in mind. Number two is your actual clothes themselves. Earlier when I mentioned that a fragrance will last on your shirt much longer than 24 hours or a day, and it will last up to 3 weeks, well, that's also a negative. Because if you use that same shirt at another time, or same jacket, same sweater, what it is, it still has those molecules and that scent and those oils from that previous spraying that you put it on. So if you apply another different fragrance to it, you're not getting that new fragrance. You're getting that new fragrance mixed in with the old fragrance. That is, unless you wash every single piece of clothing that you have after every wearing, which not many people do. So there's that thing to keep in mind. Fragrance mixing and fragrances actually going through and becoming melded in or becoming a part of one another. So there is that aspect of it. So I would actually recommend spraying your clothes if, for example, you are allergic to some components of fragrances or colognes. You may have no choice. Feel free to spray your clothes. But as I mentioned earlier, fragrances are meant to spray on your skin. They're meant to develop with your skin. They're meant to mix in with it and become an extension of you, so to say, right? So with that in mind, let's just tackle the next part, and that's my thoughts on clothes spraying, on why I don't. Now, I personally don't spray my clothes for a couple of reasons. The first reason is kind of like what I mentioned. I don't wash all of my clothes after every wearing. I'll typically wear a sweater for maybe 2-3 wearings. I'll wear a dress shirt as well, 2 wearings or so, and I don't like my fragrances clashing and mixing in one another. The second reason that I don't spray my clothes or anything like that is I want to experience the fragrance how the parfumer intended it and not on my clothes. The same logic that people will tell you, you'll often hear the logic, hey, don't apply fragrances to like a fragrance strip. Try it on your body, see how it works. The same logic goes with clothes. When you're spraying it on clothes, you're basically spraying it on a scent strip and wearing that scent strip rather than putting it on your body. So those are just a couple of reasons of why I don't actually spray it on my clothes. I've never really struggled with longevity on mine because I naturally always have moisturized my skin just because I had to, otherwise I'll be ashy. So that's never really been an issue for me. So I tend to steer away from clothes spraying. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and tackle the actual body itself when you're spraying it on your person. I'm going to start from the ground up, and starting with the feet. Now, yes, the feet. Some people do apply fragrances to their feet. There are some cultures where they'll oil their feet and especially their feet with certain certain oils, certain incenses to obviously make them smell pleasant. However, in I guess you could say our society, it's not as common, mainly because we're always wearing shoes, number one, so nobody's ever going to smell anything beyond it. But during the summer months, we also, may have foot odor that conflicts with it. So while covering your feet in oil is one thing, spraying it with fragrance is another. And it's generally not a good idea to apply it just because people won't smell it, number one. Number two, it'll probably interfere with whatever foot things you have going down there. And number three, more importantly, people most likely won't smell you when it's down there. Remember, fragrance comes out, and if coming from your feet, most people aren't close to your feet. All right. Moving up, we have the legs. Believe it or not, there are a lot of people who do apply fragrances to their legs, and in particular, the back of their knees or the back of their knees. When you apply to the back of your knees, it actually isn't that bad of an idea. The only downside to applying it to the back of your knees is that it's not really right there for people to actually smell. It's still at the bottom, and it still has to, go through and pass. However, spraying your knees isn't that bad of an idea to actually go through. It lasts a good amount of time. It's right there near a heat source on your body, so it's constantly radiating, and it has major staying power just because it's constantly there. However, the other downfall for spraying your legs and the back of your legs is that, well, for those of you who wear pants, it's not going to do you any good. Since our pants generally tend to be thicker material, it generally tends to be something that it's going to have a harder time reaching somebody's nose. So that's why spraying the legs isn't as popular of a method as spraying other parts of the body. So moving up, and I can't believe I have to actually touch on this, but I do, spraying your genital area, basically, or your dick, your balls, whatever. Spraying that area, highly unrecommended. Don't do it. I can't really stress enough, you really don't want to do it just because it's going to irritate there. I'm not telling you from experience. It should be obvious, don't spray it there. If you want an alternative, please spray your boxers or something like that so it smells pleasant and you get whatever action you want out of that. But it's highly unrecommended that you don't apply it directly there. I know I have read somewhere and I saw some people mentioning that you should do it because, wow, your girl will think it smells fantastic. Well, there are other problems when you do that, and that's it will taste like shit. It will taste, trust me, fragrance doesn't taste good. Number two, it'll irritate you down there. You could develop a rash. You don't want to develop a rash down there. Whatever, just stay away from it. Just stay away from that area if you can. So that'll be the only area that I actively tell you really not to spray it, unless it's like your eyes or whatever. Yeah, that should be obvious as well, but you'd be surprised. All right. Moving up, your torso area. Right. This is the next area that comes up, and it's often put in, especially your chest. There are definitely advantages to spraying your chest. Number one, you will smell the smell pretty well. You'll know what you have on. You'll be able to enjoy the smell all throughout the day. Number two, because you're wearing shirts, unless you're wearing like a tank top, the smell is going to be controlled almost in a way. It'll be muted in a way because it's right here, and the smell kind of has to come out, and it is muted in that way. Number 3, people can in fact smell you when you spray it right here. It does have good projection there. There is a heat source right there. However, there are some disadvantages to spraying your chest. One disadvantage to spraying your chest, and the major one, is that you develop what's called olfactory fatigue. Olfactory fatigue is basically your nose getting tired of a smell as it smells it, all right? And because the chest is right here, think about like Vicks Vapor Rub when they want you to inhale it constantly. That's what you're basically doing when you have it right here. You're constantly inhaling it, and your nose is eventually going to get used to it to some degree. Not saying that you're not going to smell it or anything like that, but because your nose gets used to it, you may think that you're no longer smelling it, or you'll basically have a very tough time detecting the fragrance, detecting the strength of the fragrance, and going through like that. So that's one major downfall to spraying that area. Number 2, it doesn't last as long as other places on the chest. And that's just because there aren't that many direct glands there that should be. There are glands, but not as many as some other places that you could spray. So that's just another thing to keep in mind. But overall, it is a pretty good area to actually spray and apply fragrances to. Moving up, one right on are the shoulder pits right here. They're basically this area right here and this area right here. That is basically, think of it very similar to the chest. The only advantage over the chest, is that this fragrance tends to last longer because there are pits, basically. There are very many oil glands that, really help keep the fragrance there and, actually help with projection, just because it's right there and it comes out just a little bit more. There really isn't that much of a difference, but there's enough that I have noticed that it works better on me, at least, than the chest does. Now, for some people I know that I've talked to, the chest does work better than these two areas, so you want to keep that in mind. But both the advantages and disadvantages for both are very similar. I just happen to get a little bit more longevity off of here than the chest area for that. And for some reason or another, it doesn't come directly up into my nose, so you experience less olfactory fatigue when you apply it here. So it's coming out here as opposed to here, where it's coming up here. All right. The next place is the arms. Now, the arms are another time-honored classic where a lot of people apply their fragrances. A lot of people apply it to the wrists. The wrists are actually great, except for the fact that they don't last as long on the wrists as they do other places. The wrist has, obviously veins that actually, produce heat, a lot of heat that actually comes and puts the fragrance up off in an area. And the other advantage to the wrist is your wrists are constantly waving around, so they're producing, scent that's kind of, going out there, and it really just helps project your fragrance once they're applied to your wrists. The other place on your arms that they can be applied to are your elbow pits, basically right here, and right here. They actually kind of have the same goal as applying it to whether it be the back of the knees or the shoulder pits, so to say, as the fragrance just rests there. But the problem more so with applying it there is you don't get as much projection as you would your wrist, or even here for that matter. For some strange reason, the fragrance just doesn't stick as well, at least on my pits over here, as well as it should. All right. Moving on to the next, and that's your armpits. You kind of want to stay away from spraying your armpits, just because it's not deodorant. Fragrance is not deodorant per se. It's meant to enhance your scent, not to block your natural body odor, your body scent that actually comes along with it. So I recommend against spraying your armpits and moving on. But the last two places I want to mention, the back of the ears right here. I'm sorry, there's 3 more places. One place that you want to mention is the neck. That is another popular spot that people like to hit, right here, the back of the neck. The neck is actually a pretty good place as well. When you apply it to the neck, though, you do run the risk of olfactory fatigue as well, a little bit more, but it is a very good place to actually apply fragrance. It comes off well with your heat. It's a little bit out of the way, doesn't get in the way of people, projects pretty well. The neck is a very good place to apply it. The back of the neck, it's another great place to apply fragrances. The one downfall to applying it to the back of the neck is that when you do that, you're less likely to smell it as well as other people. It'll not leave a nice trail as you go by, but you're less likely to sniff it. And that's really the major downfall of spraying it to the back. A lot of people like to smell the scent that they're wearing, and the back of the neck doesn't really help it that much. So the next place, back of the ears or behind the ears, this kind of area, like right here and right there, those areas keep scent pretty well. It's a little bit out of the way, and it really does wonders for especially applying it if you're going to a place like a club or something of the sort. It excels because a lot of times in those loud environments, you have to lean into someone and speak into their ear. Well, when they speak into your ear, they're going to catch a whiff of your fragrance as it's right here, basically for them to actually smell. So it's actually a good idea, especially if you're in a lot of close encounter environments where that really rings true. So, and the final place that I want to touch on is, believe it or not, your hair or your head. Your head. This is actually the number one preferred and approved way by most parfumers that I actually spoke to. All of them said, when prompted, when I asked them, hey, what is the best place to apply fragrances? They all answered quickly and without a doubt. They all said the hair. The head, basically, heat's coming off your head. It projects pretty well. Your hair is actually the perfect little item that keeps oils and the oils intact and the alcohol's intact, so it'll stay in your hair and your head the whole time. It'll project well because you're moving your head constantly, moving around. Your scent is going to kind of come off of it. Lasts long, projects well. The only downfall of it is you may not smell it as much as other people. So for that reason, some people recommend spraying the head and then hitting a wrist or someplace under here so you can smell it as well. But the head is an excellent place, and according to a lot of parfumers, the quote-unquote best place to apply it. But if you have short hair, if you have no hair, it might be a little harder. Even though I have short hair, it still works on me. If you use a lot of chemicals or additives in your head that may affect the scent, you may want to keep that in mind. If you're like a mousse sprayer, I don't know who still does that, but whatever. So just keep that in mind when applying fragrances to your head. So with that out of the way, how do I spray fragrance, or how do I go about spraying it? For me, it's pretty standard for when I spray most of my fragrances. I usually hit my 2 pits right here, spray the head. I'll usually spray, and then I'll hit the wrist usually, depending on what type of fragrance, how strong the fragrance is. That will usually determine where I spray it and how often I spray it. Which brings me to my next point, and that's amount of sprays. This item is frequently talked about. A lot of people want to know, well, how much of something do I apply? And for that, it's even tougher of an answer. And it's going to vary. It's going to vary between every single fragrance that you wear. Some fragrances, you can get away with spraying 1 and you're good for the day. So just spray 1 to the chest or 1 wherever you actually prefer. You're good. Everyone will smell you, no problem whatsoever. Some fragrances need a little bit of help. Some fragrances need you to spray, 5 places twice in order to project to your desired amount. But the danger in all of this when applying fragrances, and what makes it so difficult, is olfactory fatigue. I touched upon that, told you what it is. It's when your nose gets tired, and that's kind of the point, especially if you're the type of person who wears a fragrance day in, day out. Your nose is probably going to get used to it a lot quicker than other people. So you may think you may need to compensate by reapplying, double applying, really going crazy on your trigger, when that's not necessarily true. A lot of people may think that you're just really overdoing it, over applying it. So you want to really be careful when it comes down to it. Get the opinion of someone, see if they can smell you. A good example, not necessarily olfactory fatigue, but the way that scents really just affect with you is I have Montal's Red Oud, bought it and wore it for the first time. I think I did maybe 3-4 sprays, something like that. And when I went, it smelled very moderate around me. It smelled very good, very moderate. I could still smell it after 6-7 hours. when I went up, asked the coworker, yeah, how do I smell on this? She says, yeah, I could smell you. You know, you smell like a little bit of like sandalwood. And then 3 other people about 10, 15 feet away from me who were in the other direction basically said, we can smell you from here. I said, what? You can smell me from over there? And they're like, yeah, we can smell you no problem from over here. I couldn't realize just how powerful the scent was, even though it was so soft and what I thought was subtle, that's just how it actually came off. So even using your own nose is very suspect, should I say, in applying fragrances. Just some random notes off of hand. Women tend to have stronger noses than men do. They tend to have more acute noses than men do, and that's just for biological reasons. It's actually been said that women can actually smell or know the smell of their kids a lot better than men can. They know their natural smell, obviously. It's those types of aspects. So either way, whatever. Hopefully this video has given you the insight to apply fragrances to the best way that suits you. And that's just the overall goal for it. If you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free, leave them down. Obviously, open to discussion. There is no right way, there is no wrong way. There are just some ways that are certainly a little bit better than others. Everyone has their own preferred method, and hopefully you can use this video and come up with your own ideal way. There probably are aspects that I missed, and feel free, chime in. Nobody's offended, just contribute to the information. So thank you. I want to thank everyone. Take care and have a great day. I'm not going to say who I'm rooting for in the Super Bowl. I wish the Raiders were there, but whatever. Take care, everyone.